Moneyball is about the shift that happened in the MLB when they stopped relying on feelings about players, stopped relying on traditional, nuanced, qualitative, anecdotal evidence, and they did exactly what coaches and scouts are supposed to do. They measured their players based on their abilities, which in baseball had been lost in the minutia until the early 2000s. Billy encompasses the athlete mentality to a T, to remember everything and ruminate on it, and how when you're looking back, it's a mixture of love and resentment, and it's so painful, it's so lonely, especially when things didn't go the way you wanted them to, and they never do. Even when someone retires after winning a Super Bowl or retiring with the belt, sports is always going to move on from you eventually until you no longer have the choice. It's not just the sweet, reminiscent memory that inspires Billy to be a good coach, but it also feels like the subtle resentment that things could have gone better for him under different circumstances, different decisions, different leadership. But there's more complexity here than simply Billy wants to get back at the sport for dropping him so easily, and he will never beat it, nobody does, but maybe he can get a lucky shot in to hold on to a semblance of the dignity and poise that made him a great athlete in the first place. There's a bit of that, but it is also clear that Billy has always loved baseball. It's the leadership of young players that Billy wants to change. He was someone who had smoke blown up his ass at a young age because of those perceived bullshit values like looking at the way a player swings or whether or not they have a girlfriend. He could have gone to school on a full ride, but instead opted to play in the majors where he was eventually known as a bust. If there was a better management of his expectations and a better analysis of who he was as a player with a more reasonable outlook on his possibilities of success, then Billy might not have had the career that he did. And that is, I think, the pain behind a lot of those reflections in the film. These moments with scouts that sold him a dream because they had a feeling about him, like there was some mystical element they were using to see the future. That brings us to my favorite line of the film, and really the entire film's hypothesis in a single sentence. Billy says this to the senior scout.
Okay, my turn. You don't have a crystal ball. You can't look at a kid and predict his future any more than I can. I've sat at those kitchen tables with you and listened to you tell those parents, when I know, I know. And when it comes to your son, I know. And you don't. You don't.
Billy wants numbers, so he uses a numbers guy, Jonah Hill, to base his strategy off of. Manufacturing runs. That's it. That's how Billy changed baseball. In terms of predicting outcomes, Billy showed that one numbers guy with quantitative data smokes a room full of old experienced talking heads using qualitative data. So less players would be sold a dream and less players would invest in a fantasy. Moneyball is not a film about sports, it is a film about potential and how the fantasy the potential creates can be used as a carrot on a stick by people who are risking nothing in the investment. And baseball was changed forever because one man realized that he was a bad investment compared to the cost of buying in. And if more scouts looked at these players as representations of their stats and not who they think they are based on qualitative data, that is actually more humanizing towards the players than setting them up for failure. Because by looking at the Johnnies and Joes as X's and O's, as coaches say, as the old saying goes, Billy is setting reasonable expectations for them in ways that were never set for him. It is similar to when he elaborates to Jonah Hill's character on how he lets players know when they are released. He says he just tells them. Billy lets them know and moves on because there's nothing personal or qualitative about it. It is just business, and sports at the MLB level are very much a business. And in the end, Billy loses as his daughter sings, he is such a loser. But what an impressive loss that was. And if you lose but also change the sport forever because you challenged the old guard to change and they bent to your will, is that really a net loss after all?